Hey everybody, welcome back to the BookTubePrize channel. My name's Robert, and today I am bringing you another list of new books that I've received recently from publishers for entry into next year's BookTubePrize, at least for the nomination list. Today's list is going to be fiction in translation. The first book is My Brilliant Life by Aran Kim. My Brilliant Life explores family bonds and out-of-the-ordinary friendships, interweaving the past and present of a tight-knit family, finding joy and happiness in even the most difficult times. Aram vicariously lives life to its fullest through the stories of his parents, conversations with little Grandpa Jang, his 60-year-old neighbor and best friend, and the books he reads to visit the places he would otherwise never see. For several months, Aram has been working on a manuscript, piecing together his parents' often embellished stories about his family and childhood. He hopes to present it on his birthday as a final gift to his mom and dad, their own falling in love story. Through it all, Aram and his family will have you laughing and crying for all the right reasons. The next one is The Phone Booth at the Edge of the World by Laura Imai Messina. When Yui loses her mother and daughter in the tsunami, she wonders how she will ever carry on and begins to mark time in relation to that terrible day in 2011. Yet in the face of this unthinkable loss, her life must somehow continue. One day at work, as the host of a call-in radio program, Yui hears a story about a man on Whale Mountain, one of the places worst hit by the tsunami, who has an old telephone booth in his garden with a disconnected phone inside. As news of the phone booth and its wind phone spreads, people start coming from miles around to speak to loved ones, finding comfort in sharing the details of their daily lives with those they have lost. But when Yui, numb with grief, makes her own pilgrimage, she can't bring herself to pick up the receiver. Then she meets Takeshi, a widower whose own daughter has stopped talking in the wake of her mother's death. Inspired by true events, Laura Imai Messina's international best-selling novel, The Phone Booth at the Edge of the World, is a moving, unforgettable story about the depths of grief, the lightness of love, and the human longing to keep the people who are no longer with us close to our hearts. The next book is called Nervous System by Lina Meruane. Didn't habitable places ever interest you? Asks Ella's father from his hospital bed. But no, Ella, an astrophysicist, studies only dead stars, and poorly. Struggling to complete her doctoral thesis, she wishes she would become ill, which would provide an excuse for her lack of progress. Then Ella begins to experience mysterious symptoms that doctors find undiagnosable. As her anxiety grows, the country of the past, where Ella is from, exerts a strong gravitational pull. Memories of her family, the widowed father, the stepmother, the twins, and the firstborn emerge, and we see that each of them has their own experience of illness and violence. In Nervous System, Lina Meruane's stunning new novel, the systems that both hold us together and atomize us are ravishingly exposed. The next one is called Roundabout of Death by Faysal Khartash. Set in Aleppo in 2012, when everyday life was metronomically punctuated by bombing, Roundabout of Death offers powerful witness to the violence that obliterated the ancient city's rich layers of history, its neighborhoods, and medieval and Ottoman landmarks. The novel is told from the perspective of an ordinary man, a school teacher of Arabic, for whom daily errands become life-threatening tasks. He experiences the wide-scale destruction wrought upon the monumental Syrian metropolis as it became the stage for a vicious struggle between warring powers. Death hovers ever closer while the teacher roams Aleppo's streets and byways, minutely observing the perils of urban life in an uncanny twist on Baudelaire's Flaneur. The novel, a literary edifice erected as an unflinching response to the erasure of a once great city, speaks eloquently of the fragmentation of human existence and the calamities of war. The next one is called Mona by Pola Oloixarac. Mona, a Peruvian writer living in California, presents a tough and sardonic exterior. She likes drugs and cigarettes, and when she learns that she is something of an anthropological curiosity, a woman writer of color treasured at her university for the flourish of rarefied diversity she brings, she pokes fun at American academic culture and its fixation on identity. When she is nominated for the most important literary award in Europe, Mona sees a chance to escape her downward spiral of sunlit substance abuse and erotic distraction, so she trades the temptations of California for a small gray village in Sweden close to the Arctic Circle. Now she's stuck in the company of her jet-lagged and mostly male competitors arriving from Japan, France, Armenia, Iran, and Colombia. Isolated as they are, the writers do what writers do: exchange compliments, nurse envy and private resentments, stab rivals in the back, and hop in bed together. All the while, Mona keeps stumbling across the mysterious traces of a violence she cannot explain. As her adventures in Scandinavia unfold, Mona finds that she has not so much escaped her demons as locked herself up with them in the middle of nowhere. In Mona, Pola Oloixarac paints a hypnotic, scabrous, and ultimately jaw-dropping portrait of a woman facing down a hipster elite to which she both does and does not belong. A survivor of patronization and bizarre sexual encounters, Mona is a new kind of feminist. But her past won't stay past, and strange forces are working to deliver her the test of a lifetime. The next one is called Vernon Subutex 3 by Virginie Dementes. As storm clouds gather, portending a final reckoning, the ersatz rave cult leader Vernon Subutex decides to return to Paris. He has to. He has a dentist's appointment. Back in the city, he learns that an old friend and founding member of the commune has died and left their community half of a lottery win. But when Vernon returns to camp with news of this windfall, it's not long before his disciples turn on one another. Meanwhile, the monstrous film producer Laurent Dopelay is determined to make Aisha and Celeste pay for their attack on him, whatever it takes and whoever gets hurt. And soon the whole of Paris will be reeling in the wake of the terrorist atrocities of 2015 and 2016, forcing all the characters in this kaleidoscopic portrait of a city and an era to confront one another one last time. In the wake of all this chaos and hate, the question will arise yet again: who is Vernon Subutex? The answer: he is the future. Virginie Dementes' epochal trilogy, Vernon Subutex, ends here in fire, blood, and even forgiveness, but not everyone will survive to see the dawning of the golden age of Subutex. The next one is called Untraceable by Sergei Lebedev. The terrifying lengthening list of Russia's use of lethal poisons against its critics has inspired acclaimed author Sergei Lebedev's latest novel. With uncanny timing, he examines how and why Russia and the Soviet Union have developed horrendous toxins. At its center is a ruthless chemist named Professor Kalatin, obsessed with developing an absolutely deadly, undetectable, and untraceable poison for which there is no antidote. But Kalatin becomes consumed by guilt over countless deaths from his Faustian pact to create the ultimate venom. When the Soviet Union collapses, the chemist defects and is given a new identity in Western Europe. After another Russian is murdered with Kalatin's poison, his cover is blown, and he's drawn into an investigation of the death by Western agents. 2 Special Forces killers are sent to silence him, using his own undetectable poison. In this fast-paced, genre-bending tale, Lebedev weaves suspenseful pages of stunningly beautiful prose, exploring the historical trajectories of evil, from Nazi labs, Stalinist plots, and the Chechen wars, to present-day Russia. Lebedev probes the ethical responsibilities of scientists supplying modern tyrants and autocrats with ever newer instruments of retribution, destruction, and control. The next one is called The Art of Losing by Alice Zeniter. Naima knows Algeria only by the artifacts she encounters in her grandparents' tiny apartment in Normandy, the language her grandmother speaks but Naima can't understand, the food her grandmother cooks, and the precious things her grandmother carried when they fled. Naima's father claims to remember nothing. He has made himself French. Her grandfather died before he could tell her his side of the story. But now Naima will travel to Algeria to see for herself what was left behind, including their secrets. The Algerian War for Independence sent Naima's grandfather on a journey of his own, from wealthy olive grove owner and respected veteran of the First World War to refugee spurned as a harki by his fellow Algerians in the transit camps of southern France, to immigrant barely scratching out a living in the north. The long battle against colonial rule broke apart communities, opened deep rifts within families, and saw the whims of those in even temporary power instantly overturn the lives of ordinary people. Where does Naima's family fit into this history? How do they fit into France's future? Alice Zeniter's The Art of Losing is a powerful, moving family novel that spans 3 generations across 70 years and 2 shores of the Mediterranean Sea. It is a resonant people's history of Algeria and its diaspora. It's a story of how we carry on in the face of loss of country, identity, language, connection. Most of all, it is an immersive, riveting excavation of the inescapable legacies of colonialism, immigration, family, and war. The next one is called Touring the Land of the Dead by Maki Kashimada. Natsuko's husband, Taichi, was forced to stop working almost a decade ago, and since then they've been getting by on her part-time wages. But Natsuko is a woman accustomed to hardship. When her own family's fortune dried up during her childhood, she, her brother, and her mother lived a surreal hand-to-mouth existence shaped by her mother's refusal to accept their new station in life. One day, Natsuko sees an ad for a spa and recognizes the place as the former luxury hotel that Natsuko's grandfather had taken her mother to when she was little. She decides to take her chronically ill husband to the spa despite the cost. Their costly sojourn triggers hard but ultimately redemptive memories connected to her family's complicated history. Modeled on the Makioka sisters, Junichiro Tanazaki's classic story, 99 Kisses portrays in touching and lyrical fashion the lives of the 4 unmarried sisters in a historical, close-knit neighborhood of contemporary Tokyo, an atmospheric and captivating tale of siblings and women's lives. And the final one for today is An Apprenticeship, or The Book of Pleasures by Clarice Lispector. Lori, a primary school teacher, is isolated and nervous, comfortable with children, but unable to connect to adults. When she meets Ulysses, a professor of philosophy, an opportunity opens, a chance to escape the shipwreck of introspection and embrace the love, including the sexual love, of a man. Her attempt, as Sheila Heti writes in her afterword, is not only to love and to be loved, but also to be worthy of life itself. Published in 1968, An Apprenticeship is Clarice Lispector's attempt to reinvent herself following the exhausting effort of her metaphysical masterpiece, The Passion According to G.H. Here, in this unconventional love story, she explores the ways in which people try to bridge the gaps between them, and the result, unusual in her work, surprised many readers and became a bestseller. Some appreciated its accessibility, others denounced it as sexist or superficial. To both admirers and critics, the Olympian Clarice gave a typically elliptic answer. "I humanized myself," she said. The book reflects that. There you go, another 10 books that have been nominated for next year's BookTube Prize, this time fiction in translation. I'll be back again in a few more days with another list. See you later, everybody.